Hi YouTube, it is Lauren. I'm back again. I just posted a video about a week ago with our pregnancy announcement, I guess if you want to call it that. And so today I just wanted to post one of the two videos that I was planning on posting. So I was talking about in my last video how we were going to be doing the early sneak peek test for the gender. I did do that and I sent it in, but I have to tell you that doing the test at home correctly I found it to be very challenging, and I didn't find my video to be very informative because I felt like I was kind of learning on my own the whole time I was doing it. So I decided not to post the video of me taking the sneak peek test, just because, like I said, it was very, it was all over the place, I'm not going to lie. I had to wash my hands about 6 different times because I kept touching stuff, and it was just like, the whole time I was doing it, I just kept saying, I guess it's contaminating everything. And I just felt like, no matter even if I'm doing this test, it's probably contaminated and it's probably going to be wrong, so what's even the point of posting this video, basically. So, today I wanted to post a video of basically just my symptoms that I had for the first trimester, now that we're done with the first trimester. So, that was basically going to be my update for today. So I'm going to try to make this video not like incredibly, ridiculously long. Sorry, my husband was just texting me. So I'm just gonna go through my, kind of talked about a little bit of my symptoms and stuff, like in the very early stages before I even knew I was pregnant, but I'm just gonna talk about like after I found out and like the weeks that kind of went on ahead. So I think we'll kind of group like weeks like 4 and 5 together, because that was like when I first found out, and I pretty much felt the same. So weeks 4 and 5, I was just about 4 weeks when I found out I was pregnant. We had my blood test, and I'm hungry, so I'm eating a bag of frozen grapes. That's like my thing right now. So weeks 4 and 5, I felt pretty normal. I didn't have any sore boobs. I didn't have any nausea. The only symptom I had at first was dizziness and feeling out of breath, like tired. That kind of went away shortly after I found out I was pregnant. And then I basically had no symptoms for the entire rest of week 4. And most of week 5. I will say I started to have some cramping in week 5, which sent me to the ER because it felt a lot like my ectopic pregnancy, and it was on my left side, so that really worried me. And I had my blood levels checked and everything was doubling normally at that time, but I was just getting cramping and I was getting really concerned because it was very persistent. It felt like period cramps at first. It felt just like all in my uterus, like really heavy and pressure and period cramps, and then it was like, it just switched and it was like sharp stabbing pains, like in my left side. So I freaked out and I started getting that dizziness again and stuff and the lightheadedness, and that's when I was like, we need to just go to the ER, because if this is ectopic, I don't even want to mess with it. So we went to the ER, and like I said, I was only like 5.5 weeks at the time, so it was really early. Like I was 5 weeks in 1 or 2 days, like really, really early. My HCG levels were not even at, I think they were at 1,000. Like they were not at 2,000, so I wouldn't have been able to see like much of anything. But they did give me an ultrasound that day, checked my blood to make sure my levels were still doing good. I wasn't having any bleeding at the time, and they confirmed that I did have a start of a gestational sac inside the fundus of my uterus and not anywhere else. They checked my tubes, they checked my ovaries, and oh, I was so happy to hear that. I was like, okay, it's in my uterus. Thank the Lord. Like, seriously. So, then after that, I had some peace of mind, but the cramping pretty much continued, but they said, there's no evidence that anything is wrong. Maybe you might have a cyst or something that might have ruptured or something. They weren't sure, but they said, we don't see anything. There's no free fluid floating around. We don't see any bleeding or anything like that. So I was like, okay. So I went home. I was resting and just trying to drink lots of water and eat good and whatever. And then around week 6 is when I started to feel a little bit of nausea. It kind of started like just out of the blue. One day I just woke up and I was like, oh God, I didn't feel good at all. And for about that entire week 6, I couldn't really eat much of anything, which was a struggle. But I ended up starting to take Unisom and B6. So I would take one Unisom tablet at night with the B6, and then in the morning I would, maybe if I needed to, I would take a half a Unisom. And then I would take B6 in the morning again, and I would take B6 at lunchtime, and then I would start the process all over again. So three B6s a day at 25 milligrams each, and then I would take a Unisom, just one tablet at night. And a half a tablet, I only did that maybe like twice during the morning, just because like I felt like I couldn't get through the day without it. And up to this point, I am 13 weeks and 2 days, and I haven't thrown up from like morning sickness. So hopefully I'm out of the woods for like throwing up. I can handle like the little bits of nausea here and there. So some things that I tried for my nausea during the day was I did get some Preggy Pops. The first maybe day or two, I like was doing okay with the lemon and the raspberry ones, but they are so big. Like they are like this big. Like they're like two or three times the size of a Jolly Rancher. And just having something that big in my mouth just made me like more nauseous. Like it was just too big. Like I wanted to cut it in half. Like if it was a little smaller, I'd have been fine, but it was just too big. It was just like on my tongue, and I'm like, nope, it was making me want to gag. So the Preggy Pops didn't work for me. I've heard a lot of women say they worked. The flavor was fine, but the size of the actual candy was way too big. It was way too much at once. I wish they were smaller, because then I probably would have eaten them all day. The thing that really worked for me with like throughout the day was I would just eat mints. I know that's probably terrible, and I was eating ones that had like aspartame in them. They were the icebreakers ones because they're small again and hard candy. I didn't want anything smushy, so I was eating those. But then I was looking up, well, I don't really want to overdo it on the aspartame, so then I ended up buying these online. They are called Tummy Drops. They have all different flavors. I bought 3 different flavors. These ones are the natural peppermint flavor. They are gluten-free. They are non-GMO. They are vegan, kosher, and nut-free. The ingredients list is very small. They do have sugar in them, which I was fine with. I'd rather have regular sugar, and it's a very minute amount, rather than having the aspartame. So it has organic sugar, organic brown rice syrup, peppermint oil extract, and natural vegan flavors. Now, I'm not sure what natural vegan flavor is, but they come in these little individually wrapped, so they're about this big, which to me is a lot. Like in comparison, like a Preggy Pop was like that big. Like to me, like it was like double the size. I couldn't handle it. So, yeah, so these worked well for me. I also bought, I don't have the bag with me because I'm pretty sure I used it all. I also bought the ginger. They had like a lemon ginger and a raspberry ginger, and I really enjoyed those as well. Those were actually my favorite over these ones. But now I just kind of do these ones when I just like want to suck on something or I feel like a tiny bit of like nausea coming or whatever. So these ones help with that. And I just felt like the ingredients were like safe and fine. It says take up to 10 drops per day. I never had more. I never had probably more than 4 or 5 a day. And they last a long time, like if you just suck on them and don't chew them. So, and each bag comes with 33 lozenges in it. So yeah, overall, I was pretty pleased with the product. And I definitely will buy them again. They're not cheap though. They're like, I think $10 or $11 for a bag. So definitely not cheap. So we'll move on. 2 weeks. We're going to kind of like do end of week 6, 7, and 8 together. So week 6, like I said, nausea. Let's go into July. So, July, okay. Excuse me. So July 16th, that was 10 days after my first positive pregnancy test. I had a little bit of spotting. So that was really early on. It went away, and my HCG was still doubling. But I laid down all day because I was really worried about it. Went away. Next day, it was fine. Came back a little bit on the Saturday and Sunday, and I was really concerned about it. Ended up going back to the doctor, and they said, even though you're spotting, you still have, they checked and did another ultrasound, and they were like, there is a gestational sac, and a yolk sac now, so things were progressing. And then on July 25th, after like 2 or 3 days of spotting already, I had a large gush of blood, which I talked about in my last video, which we know now turned out to be a subchorionic hematoma. And it was so scary, and it happened. So this would have been around I think it was end of week 6. Let me look. End of week 6. So it was just at the end of week 6, beginning of week 7 was when I had the gush of blood. So then 3 days later, that happened on a weekend, of course. I couldn't go to the doctor, and I wasn't going to go to the emergency because I had just had an ultrasound that showed everything was fine. And so I scheduled another ultrasound appointment, and I was expecting that it was gonna be a miscarriage. Like, they're gonna tell me there's no heartbeat, there's no baby. So we went into that appointment on the 29th, which was the end of my 7 weeks. 7 weeks and 4 or 5 days, and we saw the baby. And I was like, holy crap. But that was really scary. So the thing that made me feel just a tiny bit better about it was when I had the gush of blood, I didn't have any cramping at the time. It was just one gush of blood. It was a little dripping in the toilet as well. I wiped, and then I put a pad on, and I was like, okay, well, I'm having a miscarriage. And then it was like, after that, it was fine. And I only had spotting. And ever since then, knock on wood, and everything else, but ever since then, I haven't had any more bleeding. I have had some spotting here and there, and I'll talk about that, but no more bleeding. The week of the 7th week, I still had nausea, and it was probably even worse than the week of the 6th, and I started to develop sore breasts. So those were some differences. And then we'll go into week 8. So this was good. I was on a regular Unisom schedule, and I was starting to feel like it was helping a lot. My appetite was getting better. But up from week 7 till now, my breasts have been sore. That hasn't changed. They have gotten a little bit more sore, but they've been sore, and I've never had a day where I'm like, oh, my boobs aren't sore. So from week 7 all the way until now, week 13, my boobs have been sore. I will say no really changes in my symptoms. In week 9, I would say I started to get relief from nausea around week 10. I had intermittent cramping throughout this whole period of time. Sometimes I would get it sharp. Sometimes I would get it like a period, but it wouldn't last all day. I don't know. But I've been on like a modified bed rest because of my hematoma, because it continued to grow. And although I wasn't actively bleeding, my hematoma was growing, which means it wasn't healing. And so they didn't want me doing my job because it's very physical and I lift and, exercise and stuff. So basically they had me stop doing all that. And throughout the whole first trimester, they were like, just stay off work. So that's what we've been doing. So week 10, didn't have an ultrasound week 10. Did have an ultrasound in week 9. Everything was looking good. And then I had another ultrasound in week 12. It was my NT scan that I just had. Everything was looking good. So then, we're now in week 13. 13 weeks and 2 days. Some people say this is the first trimester still. Other people say it's the second trimester after you hit 13 weeks. Other people say you have to wait till the end of 13 weeks. 14 weeks starts your second trimester. All my apps say different stuff. One of them says I'm in the second trimester. One of them says I'm in the first trimester. So I really don't know what trimester I'm in right now. But my doctor seemed to act like it was my second trimester. So I'm going to call it my second trimester. So changes over the last couple weeks. My nausea has been significantly better. I've been able to eat a lot more. I've gained about 4 pounds since I got pregnant, which is pretty normal, I think, for the first trimester. They want you to gain, I think it's up to 6 pounds or something like that. And then during the second trimester, you're supposed to gain quite a bit more weight. So, baby is always measuring about 2 days behind, but I think that's due to me ovulating late. And it's always been that way, so I haven't been super concerned about it. The thing that really freaked me out was stopping my progesterone because of my bleeding that I was having. They did put me on progesterone since like week 6 or 7, and I just stopped it week 13, and I was doing injections because it's just easier for me, and I don't like the suppositories. And obviously, like when you're doing IVF, you have to be on progesterone for a certain period of time, like till 10 to 12 weeks when the placenta takes over. But I just stopped at 13 weeks. That was probably a little overkill because this was a natural pregnancy. It wasn't even through IVF, but I still just was having issues with my progesterone being low in the beginning, and I was having the bleeding. So, anyway, my doctor said I could stop the progesterone cold turkey. So I did stop the progesterone injections, but I have some leftover progesterone suppositories. And because I'm really paranoid, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do those. It's not as much progesterone, but it's still progesterone. So, I'm doing 100 milligrams right now. 1 in the morning, 1 at night. I'm going to do that until 14 weeks. And then I'm going to start weaning down to 100 milligram in week 14 every day. And then I think I'm going to do 100 milligrams every other day through week 15. And then week 16, I might do 100 milligrams like every couple days. And then I think week 17, I have my next follow-up appointment and a cervical check and measurement, as well as some maternal fetal screening. So I think at that point, as long as my cervix looks okay and everything, because that's usually when they detect like if you're having cervical changes or shortening, then I think I'll feel more comfortable stopping it then. But honestly, I'm just like, I'm sure that everything's fine and my placenta is doing what it's supposed to do. But after infertility and loss and just everything, it's just like, you just hear so much that the progesterone is like what's sustaining your pregnancy. So stopping it makes you feel really nervous and like, I don't know, just like I don't know, how is my body going to do what it's supposed to do? So that's how I've been feeling this week. I'm having a little bit of anxiety about it. I have noticed like my main things over the last couple weeks is I feel really out of breath. I'm pretty sure that's normal. And it's not because I'm like huge. I do have a bump, but it's not because I'm like ginormous and my lungs are being pressed upon. I don't know if it's just because I've been on bed rest and I'm not doing very much, or if it's all this extra blood in my body, or if it's the hormones, or I really don't know, because I'll just be out of breath just sitting down sometimes. And when I talk, like, I get really out of breath. So that's just something, but I don't have any other weird symptoms. I know I'm not sick, it's just out of breath. So yeah, and then I think coming off this progesterone injections, I've been getting a little bit more headaches than I was having, which is kind of a bummer, because the whole first trimester, I only had maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 headaches total, and I normally get really bad migraines from hormone changes. So I think coming down from this progesterone that I've been supplementing with is maybe going to be a little tough on my headaches for a bit, but hopefully it will get better. So last but not least, we ended up doing, so we did the sneak peek test, and then we did the NIPT, which is the genetic screening. All the results of our genetic screening came back as low risk, which is good. In our NT scan, which is the nuchal translucency scan, where they measure the back of the neck, it's like they measure the fluid back there, and that was all within normal limits as well. So we're considered low risk for like chromosomal and genetic issues with the baby, which is really, really good. Most people don't do those tests, or they do one or the other, but I just have so much anxiety. I was like, I'm going to do both. And if they're both good, then it will give me a little bit more calm and peace of mind. So I did do that. And so we did find out that our sneak peek test was accurate. And we are having a boy. We really didn't care what it was, but we are having a boy. And this is my first like gift, I guess, I've gotten since we found out. We announced yesterday to our parents, and my mom got me this cute blanket. So she was all excited to get it for me. She said she got me one with pink elephants and one with blue, and she was just going to give me whatever one it was. So I think my parents are happy and excited no matter what, but I think they were hoping it was going to be a girl because they have 2 grandsons already from my brother and his wife. But I know they're happy. I didn't care either way. So I was going to do a bump date, so you have to like bear with me for a second because I'm in my bed. But put this here. I have a baggy shirt on right now. So this is basically my bump from the front, from the side. If you saw me before I was pregnant, I had a very flat tummy. So this is definitely a little bump forming. It feels tight, you know, like things are stretching and whatnot. It can be a little uncomfortable at times, but obviously I barely look pregnant at this stage. 13 weeks is really early to show that you're pregnant. So that's nothing too crazy. One thing that I have found really beneficial and helpful is I did borrow, actually I should say, a Doppler from a girl in my IVF group. This is the Doppler that I was given, which was very nice. So this one, my doctor said that it's safe to use it once a day if I want to, which is excessive, but I do it anyway. So this is how it comes. It's just like this. Comes off like that on the side, and then you put a little bit of gel, which I wasn't given gel, but you can buy ultrasound gel, or you can just use aloe vera, which I don't think I have it on me, but you can use aloe vera just the same, or you can even use any kind of like lotion. It really doesn't matter. But this is the one that I got. I got 2 tubes of this, and I'm almost out because I've been doing this at home since 9 weeks, just for like, because I have anxiety. So at first, when I first started, it was really difficult for me to find the heartbeat. So I'm going to post a video, I think, of how to find the heartbeat. It depends where your baby is, it depends where your placenta is and all that, but I'm going to do a video and show you guys how to find the heartbeat. So I'll post that in a little bit. But yeah, so it's really great. I love this thing. It can be a little staticky at times, and you kind of have to give it a minute to, there's a lot of different noises going on in there. You can hear your placenta, you can hear a lot of other, like your own heartbeat and veins and arteries, and then you'll find the baby's heartbeat, and it's a lot quicker than any of the other noises, so that's when you kind of know that you've gotten it. So, but for the most part, the one update is that basically my hematoma from my last ultrasound looks to be healing. It hasn't grown, so that's a good sign. I've noticed my skin is clearing up a little bit. I was breaking out quite badly from like 7 to like 10 weeks. So it's gotten a lot better over the last few weeks. Not that I really care, because, I mean, whatever I have to deal with to be pregnant, I don't really care. But yeah, other than that, I'm feeling okay. So that's my first trimester update. I am very excited to be in the second trimester, I think. It feels good to make it through the first trimester, because everyone says it's a turning point and everything, especially for how you're feeling. And but I know a lot of women who have had losses in the second and third trimester. And I hate to say that because I don't want to put bad vibes out into the world, but it's a reality, and you can't be naive to those things. So I know that I'm never in the clear, and I really feel for the women that I know, especially that have lost babies, like, so far into it. It's just really sad, and that's one thing I've been feeling a little bit more nervous about now is just my cervix. My cervix and my placenta. Like, I'm just like worried about those 2 things the most. Just like, are they doing what they're supposed to do? And is my cervix shortening? Like, is everything okay? But these vaginal progesterone suppositories are actually a first line kind of thing that they do when you have any issues with your cervix. So I'm kind of hoping that doing vaginal progesterone kind of like prophylactically will be like a preventative for any cervical issues. But I see them again in 4 weeks, so hopefully that will be okay. And then I think I can get another ultrasound before my 4-week appointment. They said that I could get one more in between, so I might just do that like maybe the week before my cervical check and all that. And then I have my anatomy scan at 20 weeks. So I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but those are all things I'm looking forward to and trying to focus on, like little milestones that I can achieve. And yeah, so if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and comment down below. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. And I will be posting the video of me doing the Doppler. So I'm going to actually do that right now, and then I will post both of these videos tonight. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.